Camera, action.
Hey everybody, welcome back to another review. Today we're going to be talking about The Death of Robin Hood. So this movie essentially follows Robin Hood, who's kind of in the later years of his life, and he's kind of, looking back on some of the stuff that he's done, and he's done a lot of bad shit. And he goes into one more thing, thinking it's going to be his last battle, his last hurrah, and he's going to die in that. And even though he is gravely injured and he thinks he's near his end, he gets taken in by a woman who is a part of this island that kind of grants him this salvation and almost like a second chance. So this is a movie that I absolutely had no idea what to expect. This is something I love the idea of Robin Hood. I love the idea that they're going to take this story of Robin Hood and kind of twist it in their own way. So I was very curious to see where this movie was going to go. And I remember seeing the trailer for it a few times and it really piqued my interest. But I'll have to admit, this movie is nothing what I expected it to be. So this movie comes to us from the director that gave us Pig and A Quiet Place Day One, which Pig I've only seen one time, but people absolutely love that movie. I wasn't as high on it when I first seen it. I was like, yeah, it's not bad. It's one that I'm due for a rewatch for, especially after seeing this. It is one I'd like to go back and rewatch again. And I thought A Quiet Place Day One, while I didn't like it as much as the John Krasinski ones, I thought he did a really great job, again, with the storytelling and the camera work and all that stuff. So I thought a movie like this would be perfect for him. So with all that, leading right into the positives, the things I liked about this movie is the cinematography. It looks absolutely gorgeous. These like wide open shots of these landscapes and these mountains and the river and the like everywhere that they're at in this movie essentially looks like a gigantic painting. Like, it looks phenomenal. And with that, I love the sense of like peace that all of that kind of gives off. I don't know if it's really just the way that the visuals are or what, but in me, I just found something very peaceful about it. While deep down knowing that with this, how tortured of a soul this Robin Hood character is, I don't think there really is any peace there. So I thought that was a really cool kind of thing to bring to this movie, especially when you get to like where Jodie Combs is and her whole side of the story. I think where she's at on this island, that's somewhere I could live so peacefully for the rest of my days. I think all of that is just so beautiful. I think it's just beautifully done, and the way that they crafted this entire island, they made it look like it's this, this little teeny piece of heaven on earth, and I think they captured that perfectly. But it's just so visually stunning to look at. And that's even for like the way that the action sequences are shot in this movie. Like, there's not a lot, not whatsoever. There's really some mainly in the beginning, and that's really it. So, but the scenes that we do get in the beginning, the first little bit of the movie, it's so visually appealing to look at, the way that they go about shooting the fights, along with the lighting, with the fire in the background and whatnot. Like, I think all that looks so just gorgeous to look at. It kind of reminded me of that ending scene in The Northman where they're fighting in the volcano. It really reminded me a lot of that, and it has that same aesthetic appeal to it that I really liked. But those scenes like that are just gorgeous, where they're in like the fog and, like they said, they're backlit by fire and things like that. I think all that just looks so visually appealing and just so great to look at. And I love how this movie is lit too. I don't know 100% sure if they only used natural lighting throughout this movie, but a lot of it really looks like it's all done in natural lighting. Like, you either have sunsets or sunrises, or it's lit by some fire in the background, or candle lit, or moonlight, or something along the lines of that, for example. So all of that, like the way that they go about, shooting those scenes and having the actors in certain moments, I think all, again, looks visually appealing. So I loved how they use, it looks like all natural lighting to really film this movie. Like I said, I'm not 100% sure if there was some other lighting involved, but if not, they did a damn good job with making me think that most of this movie was pretty much all natural lighting. I think the acting across the board is phenomenal. This is one of Hugh Jackman's, I think, best performances. Like, he's one of the greatest actors. Like, he can do just about anything. One of my personal favorite performances from him is from a movie called Prisoners. I think it's just flawlessly done. But you have movies like that, but you have movies where he's got to be on that grittier side, kind of like Logan was. And this movie has little elements of Logan. I feel like it could be like that Old Man Logan movie that a lot of people really wanted. So it has elements of that in here. But his acting across the board is so well done. Him playing this tortured soul that is just like consumed by everything that he's done in his life and like all this really horrific stuff that he's done. And he, like a lot of that acting is done all through with just his face. Like a lot of it, he doesn't have to say a lot of words. It's all in his face. He's trying, I feel like he's struggling so hard to make peace with the things that he's done while, you know, given this second chance when thought he was going to die and he was ready to die. It makes such an interesting thing that I'll talk about here in a minute. But all of that combined together with his acting is just absolutely phenomenal. And it's the same with Bill Skarsgård. I didn't even I totally forgot he was in this movie. And it was almost 10 to 20 minutes in the movie before I realized that the character he was playing. I said, "Oh, that's him." So he was almost unrecognizable to me in this movie, but I thought he did a really great job with the time that he's given. And it's the same with Jodie Comer. I feel like something about her acting to me comes off so naturally. Like I never feel like she is acting. Like I feel like every scene that she's always in, especially even in this movie, her conversation just comes so naturally. She's like it's just like she's not even acting. It's like she's just carrying on a normal conversation. And I think something about everything I've seen her in, it's like she's just flawless in stuff that she does. Like all this stuff just comes so naturally to her. And I really like the role that she plays, and I really like the back and forth that she has with Hugh Jackman's character throughout this movie. And a lot of the stuff that they kind of go through and connect with, and there's stuff in this movie I'm trying not to give away that connects them more than they think so near the end of the movie, so I'm not going to give anything away. But I liked all that. I liked how they explored all that and really kind of dove into that. But overall, the acting across the board is fantastic. Like everybody gives a damn great performance in this movie from start to finish. I think one of the things that is most interesting too about this movie is the fact that they really kind of show you near the beginning how ruthless this Robin Hood really is, how brutal he is. Like, this is not the Robin Hood fairy tale that we've grown up with and known about, steals from the rich, gives to the poor and all that. This is a very dark take on Robin Hood, and it's something I really appreciated because it makes him more of a criminal. Like, he's straight up a thief, a killer, just a very bad person, like a really bad person. And you start to slowly kind of trickle in to learn all the stuff, horrific stuff he really has done. So as an audience member, you're like, damn, I don't really know if I can attach myself to this character, or if it's going to give me anything to latch on to this character because of how dark and how not good of a person he really is. So you're trying to search for something in him that you're like, okay, I just need something. Give me something to latch on to. But he's shrouded in so much just horrific shit that he's done that, like I said, as an audience member, you're like, I don't know if I can pull for this guy. So when Jodie Comer kind of comes into the movie, she really becomes more of the heartbeat of the movie. Really this one that you can kind of attach onto, even though you don't really know a lot about her story near the beginning. You're like, okay, I can clearly see this woman has really great intentions. I see where she's trying to help people. So she really becomes the heartbeat of the movie and the one that you really latch onto. But I love the whole theme and message of this movie that I got out of it was that I love the fact that you have a character like Robin Hood, for example, that is given this almost salvation on this island where he can start anew, he can start over and kind of leave that part of his life behind. And Hugh Jackman does such a great job with, you see the eternal struggle in him. You see that he has that in him where he's like, I don't deserve this. I'm a monster. I don't deserve any of this. I could never be this. And it asks that great question to the audience. It's like, do you think he deserves forgiveness? Like, he doesn't believe he deserves forgiveness. So it's like, you feel that there's a great like internal war like going on inside of him to where it just feels like he wants to die. He wants all this to end. But then he gets to see another side of life that he never thought he would experience before. So it kind of starts to change him in ways. And he kind of becomes almost this father figure to a little girl at one point in the movie. And like a lot of stuff starts to, change and whatnot in him. And I think that's just a really great way of storytelling where you have such a hardened, unforgivable character that starts to become likable, which is, like I said a second ago, which is something where you're like, I didn't think I could ever like this person because of everything that he's done. But they do such a great job of showing you that there is some good in him. Even though all this horrific stuff has happened, there's good in there, so you want to pull for him to do the right thing. I just really love that back and forth theme throughout the movie. It's something I really appreciated. And like I said, the way that Hugh Jackman goes about acting on it, it's phenomenal. I just love, I can relate so hard to that feeling of, I don't deserve this. I don't deserve to be happy because of, I don't deserve any of that, which I'm probably telling too much about myself here. I've never done the stuff Robin Hood's done, okay? Not in this movie. I've never done any of that stuff. But I'm just saying, with the mental health side of me, I know how it feels to be like, I don't deserve this, or I don't deserve to have happiness, or I don't deserve this because of point A, B, and C. So it's something I really latched onto in this movie, and it's something I really appreciated about it. And especially in the way that Hugh Jackman went about acting on it, it just brings it full circle. The other thing I really liked about this movie, too, was that I liked how even though when he gets to this island where Jodie Comer is at, and you have this somewhat of these peaceful vibes throughout it, you can't help but to feel nervous because you don't know who is going to come for him. Who knows that he's there? What's going, if people is going to be, led to him and whatnot, and you're afraid chaos is going to ensue because you don't want anything to happen to Jodie Comer or the occupants of this island because they didn't do anything. And it's one of those things to where you're like, I don't know if he should really stay there because of stuff like that, and it'll be just another thing for him where he's like, oh great, now he's going to get more people killed because of his actions. And that's also a reoccurring theme throughout this movie as well, how no matter what and how many people he's killed down the line, somebody always comes back for him in some way, shape, or form, so he can never outrun the cycle. So it's like a little bit of him in this movie trying to break that cycle, trying to teach somebody good with that little girl that is in this movie. So like I said, I loved all that, and I love the overall feel and themes of the movie. It's just something that really hit home for me, and I really enjoyed it. Now, like I said in my intro, this movie is not what I expected at all. I expected this to be kind of like a revenge, one last mission type thing. And while it kind of is that to an extent, it's not. Like, I thought something was going to go off with that little girl, and he's going to have to go hunt her down and get her back, and all this violence and stuff will pursue in that. And it's really not that at all. It's really like the violence and whatnot in this movie all happens kind of in the beginning. And then the rest of the movie, we follow Hugh Jackman and Jodie Comer on this island. And he's, like I said, and he's trying to, rehabilitate himself and trying to become, a different part. Like, it's really more of him soul searching, really, for pretty much the entire rest of the movie. So this is a movie that I have to say is a very slow-paced movie. I mean, it is very slow. But I think the story and its themes and everything that it's going for is interesting enough to where the slow parts never bothered me. Like I said, I'm a sucker for slow burn movies anyway. I think they're really good if the story is very interesting, and I think this movie is absolutely interesting. This movie, to me, almost kind of felt like a play at times. There's most of, pretty much, like I said, the second half of the movie takes place on this island, so it's kind of a one-location type deal. So a lot of it, and like I said, it's very dialogue heavy, very, very dialogue driven and very dialogue heavy. So a lot of it really felt like it could have been like a play at some point. But I think that's something I really appreciated about it. Like I said, the story is interesting enough to where I latched onto the characters. I really wanted to see how this movie ended and how it wrapped up, and the feeling that it left me with. And I'll be honest with you, I was satisfied with all of that. There's even a scene, I think the entire ending is fantastic. The dialogue that is being said to this little girl from Hugh Jackman, I think is absolutely just phenomenal. And it's one of those pieces of like a monologue that you're really just locked into. Like, you're really like, wow. Like, and there's a line that he says in the movie. I'm not gonna give anything of what is going on or what is happening in the scene, but there is a line of dialogue where he tells her that you're not letting go, you're simply not holding on anymore. And that whole, I got goosebumps now thinking about it. But that, when he said that, in the context of everything that's going on in the scene and whatnot, I got full body goosebumps. Like, that's something, I don't know, it really hit me on an emotional level and really just made me feel something. The only really mixed element about this movie can be the pacing. I feel like there is some parts where as much as I love the slow-paced, feel of this movie and I enjoyed the story, there are certain parts that I feel like drug on just a little too long, that I'm like, okay, I don't need to see this character walk from A to B for the 50th time. It's like, I understand that. I understand where he's going, so I don't need to see so much of that. So, stuff like that, I feel like they could have cut down a little bit more of the stuff here and there to kind of, help the pacing out, to move it forward just a little bit more. And that's really the only mixed negative that I really have about this movie, because everything else I really enjoyed. Honestly, like I said, I walked into this movie not knowing what to expect, and I left with kind of a surprise. Like, it really surprised me with how much I enjoyed this at the end of the day. And it's one of those movies that I've kind of kept thinking about since I've seen it. So, I don't know, it just worked for me pretty much on every aspect. So for me personally, I do think this is a movie that is worth checking out, but it is also a movie that, like I said before, very much temper your expectations. If you've seen a trailer, if you've seen anything about, or the marketing, or whatever you've heard about this movie, and you thought it's going to be a giant action-packed Robin Hood revenge movie, it is not that at all. So really kind of take that out of your way. Like I said, it's more of an aging Robin Hood who is getting ready to die, but is trying to find salvation and trying to, him getting like almost like a second chance at the end of his life, and it's him struggling with the fact that, does he deserve this and things like that, and all those themes are kind of layered throughout this movie. So it is very much more of that movie, and it is a very slow-paced movie. So if that sounds like something that is not up your alley at all, you probably will not enjoy this movie at all. But if you go into it with an open mind, and I feel like knowing that, really having your expectations kind of altered a little bit, where you're not expecting like nonstop breakneck action through the entire movie, I feel like you might really enjoy this movie more. So thank you, everybody. That is my review for The Death of Robin Hood. If this is the review that you're finding me on, please come over to the channel and check out all my other 2026 reviews so far. And I would love to know if you have seen The Death of Robin Hood. Please let me know down below what you thought about it, what you got out of it, how it made you feel, and what is your favorite version of Robin Hood. I'm curious. We've got so many versions of Robin Hood throughout the years. What is your favorite? And as always, please remember to like, comment, and subscribe. That way I can see all of you in the next one. Thank you so very, very much.